There are two dogs living inside every one of us. One feeds on doubt, fear, and comparison. The other feeds on belief, calm, and quiet confidence. The dog that wins is the one that you feed the most. For years, without even realizing it, I was feeding the wrong one. Welcome to the Lead World channel, where we explore the inner world of leadership, well-being, and what it means to build a business that doesn't break you. This video is part of my Inner World series, a space for reflection, perspective, and the kind of growth that starts on the inside long before it shows up on the outside. My name is Trevor Hill. I run a multi-award winning restaurant and cocktail bar called Oko Rocco, but I didn't come from a hospitality background. I built it from the ground up, learning as I went, often the hard way. And through those years, through the highs of success and the lows of burnout, I learned that the way you speak to yourself determines everything. Not just how you feel, but what you attract and what you create and what kind of life you believe you deserve. When I think back to the most confident years of my life, I see a pattern. Back then, my inner voice was strong and it was certain and kind. I didn't realize how powerful that was until I lost it. Confidence is an echo. The more you have, the more you create. But when confidence fades, it doesn't vanish all at once. It slips away quietly through 1,000 small moments. A comment here, a failure there, a comparison, a doubt. And before you know it, the language in your head has changed from I can to I can't. And that shift changes everything. I didn't notice it happening at first, but when I went through burnout, my inner dialogue started to sound like a victim script. It's out of my hands. I'm unlucky, I'm not who I used to be. And the more I repeated it, the truer it became. Not because it was reality, but because it was a story I kept feeding. And that's the thing about self-talk. It's not harmless background noise. It's a rehearsal for who you're becoming. Every word you speak, even the quiet ones you whisper to yourself, sets the tone for what follows. For years, I dismissed things like mantras and affirmations. They felt silly to me, forced, something you'd see in films where the character stands in front of a mirror trying to convince himself that they're not broken. I thought confidence had to come from evidence, from success, from results, or from proof. But the truth is, the proof doesn't come first. The language does. The mind is literal. It doesn't distinguish between truth and repetition. So if you tell yourself you're not enough often enough, your brain will start scanning for evidence to prove it right. But if you tell yourself you're capable and strong and deserving, it will start noticing all the little ways that you already are. That's why self-talk isn't spiritual fluff. It's neuroscience, it's dopamine, it's focus. It's the foundation of how you see the world and how you see yourself in it. It reminds me of that story, the one about the two dogs. One represents fear, scarcity, and doubt, and the other represents love, abundance, and confidence. They fight every day inside of you, and the one that wins is the one that you feed. And for a long time, I was feeding the wrong dog. I was reinforcing failure before I even gave myself a chance to succeed. Every self-deprecating comment, every sarcastic, of course, when something went wrong, every comparison that ended with, I could never do that. Those were meals for the wrong dog. And what happens when you starve the one that believes in you? It weakens, it grows quiet, it forgets how to speak. Relearning that language, the language of self-respect, was one of the most powerful shifts that I ever made. And it didn't start with grand affirmations or daily meditations. It started with awareness, catching myself mid-thought, hearing the tone I was using about myself, noticing how often I spoke about lack instead of choice. For example, instead of saying, I can't afford that, I began saying, I'm choosing to direct my money somewhere else right now. It sounds small, but that single shift changes everything. One phrase comes from scarcity and the other one comes from control. One says, I'm powerless, and the other one says, I'm deciding. When you speak from choice, your energy changes, your posture changes. The world starts to respond differently because you're showing up differently. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about speaking as though you believe you can handle what comes. When I started journaling again, like really journaling, not just listing to-do lists, I began to see patterns. I'd write down a worry, chase it through to its logical end, and realize how much of my anxiety came from catastrophizing things that hadn't even happened yet. Journaling became a mirror, not a place to fix myself, but to hear myself. Because once you hear your thoughts out loud, once you see them on paper, they lose the power to define you. You start to realize that thoughts are not facts, they're just visitors. You can thank them for showing up and choose which ones get to stay. And that's what self-talk is. It's daily editing, deciding which voice gets the microphone. Here's what I've learned. Self-talk isn't just about how you think, it's about how you project. When you speak kindly about yourself, people believe you. And when you respect respect your own boundaries, people feel it. When you carry quiet confidence, not arrogance, but calm certainty, it changes how you move through the world. People mirror what you project, and your self-respect sets the standard for how they treat you. If you speak about yourself with disdain, people will take your lead. If you speak about yourself with grace, they'll follow that too. The two dogs again, one fed by scarcity, the other fed by self-respect. The one that wins will shape your reality because your energy is magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, even luck towards you or repels them. And luck, it's not random, it's probability influenced by presence. You increase your luck by showing up where luck lives, by being in motion, by having conversations, by being kind, by saying yes to opportunities that scare you. But if your self-talk is rooted in fear or unworthiness, you won't see those openings. You'll walk straight past them and you'll convince yourself that they weren't meant for you. The more I worked on this, the more I tuned into the way that I spoke to myself, the more I realized how many layers of conditioning were wrapped around it. We live in a culture that mistakes self-deprecation for humility. And we think confidence is arrogance and self-respect is ego. So we downplay our strengths, we dismiss compliments, we joke about our flaws before anyone else can point them out. But all that does is feed the wrong dog. There's a difference between arrogance and self-belief. Arrogance says, I'm better than others. Self-belief says, I'm as capable as anyone. And that's the voice we need to strengthen, because when you believe you belong, you stop asking permission to exist. There's something else I noticed along the way as well. When we talk negatively about ourselves, it's rarely because we truly believe those things. It's because somewhere deep down, we think criticizing ourselves protects us. If we point out our flaws first, no one else can. If we lower expectations, we can't disappoint anyone. If we play small, we won't be hurt when something fails. But that's not protection, it's self-sabotage disguised as caution. When you stop attacking yourself, you stop bracing for attacks that will never come in the first place. I used to think that self-respect came from achieving things, from being successful, from proving myself, but now I know it's the other way around. Self-respect creates success because when you respect yourself, you make better choices, you choose work that aligns with your values, you choose people who treat you well, and you choose rest before you collapse. You choose your words carefully, not out of fear, but out of respect for the energy that they hold. It's like feeding that good dog every possible choice makes it stronger. I've met people who walk into a room and instantly change the atmosphere. They're not loud, they're not showing off, they just radiate something, a sense of being grounded in who they are. That's projection, not in the psychological sense, but energetic projection. They're broadcasting belief. And the truth is everyone's doing it, whether we know it or not. We project what we believe we deserve. That's why someone who thinks they're unworthy will unconsciously shrink, apologize for existing, and pull back when good things come. While someone who believes they're enough will stand tall, they'll meet life's gaze and attract experiences that match that energy. It's not mystical, it's physics. The world reflects your frequency. If you want to change what life gives you, start with what you're saying to yourself. Catch those little phrases that slip out unnoticed. I'm so bad at this. I'm terrible with money. Nothing ever works out for me. Because those aren't just words, they're instructions. If you wouldn't speak that way to someone you love, don't speak that way to yourself. Instead, try things like, I'm learning, I'm improving, I'm open to finding a way. Simple, realistic, believable, but powerful. Because over time, those phrases become your internal soundtrack. And that soundtrack will either push you forward or it will pull you under. It reminds me of something that Joe Dispenza wrote. You can't create a new future from the same personality that created your present. If you want life to change, you have to start showing up as the version of yourself who already believes it can. That version of you speaks differently. They walk differently, they project energy that says, I belong here. And when you start acting like that version, even before you believe it completely, your environment begins to respond in kind. People call that manifestation. I call it alignment, because you're not summoning magic. You're syncing with probability. You're putting yourself in the way of good things. That's what feeding the good dog really means. Every positive word, every small act of self-respect, every decision that honors your worth, that's a meal for the dog that you want to win. And the more you feed it, the stronger it becomes, until one day it's the only voice that you hear. We talk about confidence like it's a fixed trait, something you either have or you don't, but confidence isn't a gift, it's a habit. It's the accumulation of 1,000 tiny choices that tell your brain, I can handle this, I belong here, I deserve to try. It's built in private long before it's seen in public, and it's protected by self-respect, by the quiet decision to speak well of yourself even if no one else is listening. When I finally began shifting that language, I noticed something almost instantly. The world around me softened. Challenges still came, but I wasn't shaken as easily. Setbacks still happened, but they didn't define me. I started seeing opportunity instead of threat, and slowly that confidence I thought I'd lost started to return. It wasn't loud or flashy, it was quiet, it was grounded, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything because it just knows. I think that's what true self-respect is, not ego, not perfection, but a calm knowing. It's waking up and saying, whatever happens today, I can meet it. It's catching yourself when your inner critic speaks and saying, not today. It's remembering that both dogs will always exist, the one that doubts you and the one that believes in you, but you get to decide who eats. And that brings me back to where we began. Because when I look back now, I can trace every good thing in my life to moments when I was feeding the right dog, opening Rocco when everyone said not to, starting again after being completely burnt out, and choosing to rebuild myself from the inside out. They weren't lucky moments, they were moments of belief, moments when I chose to speak life into my own story instead of defeat. And that's something we all have the power to do every single day. You don't have to wait until you feel ready, you don't have to wait until you have it figured out. You just have to start speaking to yourself like someone who's capable and not broken, because that's who you are. You are capable, you are resilient, you are enough. As you go about your day, ask yourself, which dog are you feeding? The one that whispers you're not enough, or the one that quietly reminds you that you've been enough all along? Feed the one that believes in you. Feed it with kind words, with action, with patience, and with courage. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that's the voice that built your life. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe. It helps me, it helps the channel, and it helps people like us find the content that really matters. And if you've overcome your negative inner dog in any way, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, I'd love to remind you that you matter too. Don't forget that.